Just a few more questions, guys. Anything? Any general KhaZix questions or specific questions? Just ask in KhaZix discussion.
I'll hold you up any day, baby.
Me too.
That was to Nick, not to everyone. Sorry, everyone else.
We have three questions so far.
Hey, do you have my question in there?
So which one was yours?
It's a one-word question.
Oh no.
Moby boot.
Oh no. Okay.
Wait, VirtueBot, why are you still at like negative volume?
I told him it's a little better, but
I mean, I can try and do something about it. Like, most of the time people tell me I'm loud, so this
I know you've always been loud every time I've ever heard you, except the last 2 times.
Dude, are you sure I'm not, like, turned down in this channel?
No, it's definitely you.
Yeah, it's definitely you.
It's definitely you.
Alright, I don't know what to do then. Alright, hold up. Hey, did that help?
Not in the least bit.
Fuck, dude.
Are you sure your computer microphone boost is like up enough?
Input
He
sensitive.
has it at like negative 30 decibels. What the fuck?
How about that? Does that help?
Nope.
Jesus.
Are you using the correct microphone on your computer?
Yeah, I checked that. I mean, according to Discord, yeah.
Look at my
He's
screenshot.
got like one on the side of his desk and he's like yelling into his headset. Like,
He left his mic in his neighbor's house. He's picking up.
what?
Does it really sound like that?
Alright, wait, now it's so loud.
It's a little better now.
But I didn't do anything, though.
Why is it so loud now?
It's loud, like loud?
Holy shit. Oh my god, stop. It's too quiet now, it's too fucking loud.
I didn't change anything, I
think
swear.
we're gonna clear it out.
Alright, well, while we're here, let me tell you all the story about Goldilocks and the 3 bears, except there's gonna be the 3 microphones, okay? This one's
What?
from VirtueBot. Goldilocks
What?
and the 3 microphones. The first one was too damn quiet, and I think VirtueBot needs to hurry up and find the 3rd one. Because what the fuck was that, dude?
Hey, this is the 3rd one, right, you guys? No? Still too loud?
Is Mark on drugs?
Yes.
Okay.
Hey, give me some feedback on this.
Alright, I'm turning you back down to 100, and hopefully you don't go down randomly.
Yeah, it's literally fine now. I don't have to like.
So we found the in-between.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, everyone else here probably had him at 200 from the last seminar when he was at like.
Oh, that's true too. Yeah, now
Even better.
I definitely saw the reaction, so my bad about that. It's just weird, like, I don't know.
Not only did you ear rape everyone, but everyone was listening extra carefully.
True.
Holy shit.
Okay. Ready to go?
Yeah, well, I was waiting for one more question, but I guess we can start it. Oh, look, there's one, maybe?
Hey, there's one. Hey.
Okay. Thank you, Rocco. And we'll get to that in order, chronologically. We have literally 0 KhaZix gods on? That's not good.
Wait, Kai was here. Hello. Hello, Kai. Nope.
What? Alright. What's our load everything?
Yo.
Hello.
Hi.
Greetings, summoner. Okay, I'm gonna leave you unmuted because literally no one else will be able to answer questions.
Alright, sure.
So we can begin now, I guess. Mark, are you here?
Hi.
Hi. Okay, so last seminar we talked about mostly KhaZix. What was it, Mark? I forgot.
What?
What did we talk? What was the main focal point of last seminar that we did?
It wasn't me. Pokemon. We just answered questions. We never had any starting point.
Okay, great organization so far. It could just be general because there hasn't really been any patches, so we can just answer any questions. Doesn't have to have like a theme. And And whenever your question comes up, we'll unmute you and you get a chance to elaborate if you wish to. And if you feel like you want to answer the question that's asked, you can type in KhaZix discussion and we'll unmute you. So with that, what is the best KhaZix skin? We can start a very easy one. Death Blossom. Okay, next question.
Wait, what? It's definitely classic.
Rob Hockey?
Next question. This one is today. Okay. I'm curious what your opinion on evolving E first. And who would like to speak first? Start us off. Richibot?
All right. I mean, I don't evolve E first, but I mean, I see no reason why you can't do it. Someone actually posted a gameplay on the KhaZix sub like a while, not that long ago. I want to say like a week maybe. I thought that demonstrated like a pretty solid use of E first. So, I mean, I think you can justify it. I just personally don't do it.
I know Tingus for one is someone who tries out evolutions all the time, so he's done it a lot. If he was here, he could probably elaborate more. Anyone else have any thoughts on E-Evolve first?
Well, I mean, I've tried it sometimes, and I think it's like pretty good for ganking sometimes. I've not been using it like lately that much, but it can be fine. Like if you're ahead, then it's like really good.
Yeah, I think snowballing definitely is one point. I also think, like, specifically, if you have, like, a very dive-heavy team, like, you know, you're doing tower dives and, like, following up on engages and stuff like that, like, it can definitely be pretty useful in that kind of situation specifically.
I feel like it's very, very niche, and I don't actually ever see a game where you should evolve it first, where it'd be better than any of the other three, just because, like, if you want to talk about snowballing and pressure, Q evolve is just useful for doing that, you know, and then for fighting the enemy jungler. If you're talking about dive heavy comps,
Mark, fix your mic.
Sorry, you're usually not diving that early into the game where you need it before level 11. You're usually going to be level 11 before you're really doing anything big like that, so I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much agree with that. That's why I don't, like I said, I don't do it myself. So, but I think we could like definitely formulate like some interesting discussion there. Like as far as snowballing goes, like does E actually give you any additional like realistic, tangible snowball potential?
And a point that Tingus brought up last time, we had a discussion about general evolutions. One thing he said is it's much more of like a hindrance if you're behind. Because Q is always going to be the reliable option, regardless of if you're ahead or behind. So when you're ahead, you'll always have room to like take E evolve first or R or even W if you're just autistic. I mean, try new things. And yeah, it just gives you a lot more room to test things out when you're ahead. You can get away with it. You don't need Q.
Well, I guess I don't know, that's kind of where I'm interested to dig into the discussion a little bit more. Like, like when if we talk about E evolve, like, are we talking about just getting away with it because we're ahead, or are we talking about E doing something that's like objectively better that you absolutely need at 6? Like, is it a specific strategic purpose? You know what I mean? Because like I can sit here and say like, yeah, it's good for dives and this and that, which in theory it is, but like,
yeah, it's like what are you giving up for that?
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm definitely curious there. Like, so I guess it's obviously worth noting that in order to get the maximum use out of E, you're going to need to get a kill, which, you know, obviously that early on in the game, your burst is low relative to what it would be at level 11 or on. So, I don't know. That's almost worth mentioning. Like, are you really getting as much use out of E as you would be at a later level? And I would say probably not. You know, I mean,
anyone else have any thoughts on E evolve if anyone's tried it or experimented with it? Nothing. We can move on if you guys don't have anything. because we did touch on evolutions the first week a lot, so a lot of people might be trained on that
What was
topic.
the conclusion of that, actually? I don't remember off the top of my head. Like, did we just say it was situational or something?
Yeah, we just basically came to the conclusion that Q is always going to be the most reliable, which is obvious.
QEW standard, QEW or QWE if in some situations, and then REQ or REW in other situations. But
And-
QEW is the most consistent for solo
And
queues.
we talked about our evolution in general, just its viability at all stages, like how decent it is first evolve for basically cheesing the early game, and at level 16, it's useful if you're still fighting around like River and Baron and you're not pushing into their inhib or you're not being pushed into your inhib. Then it can still be useful. But more often than not, at that point in the game, when you're 16, you're going to be out inhibitors and you won't be able to utilize pushes at all. So
For sure.
it's like not that important.
Did we talk about W first at all?
Rob did.
No. I don't remember.
Rob's tried it a couple times. He talked about it.
I thought he did W second every game.
Nope, he was doing W first for a while. He tried it, and we talked about it, and that was, he's the only one that really has any experience with it, because with good reason. But
So is it useful? I've never tried it, honestly. I saw one person do it, but
not really. It's utility, and at level 6, you're not the utility champion. You don't give a flying crap about utility at all.
that's pretty much my thought.
And not only that, you don't care about AoE. You're literally almost always going to be targeting 1 or 2 people at most. You're not going to be trying to, get 5 people at once.
Yep, I definitely agree.
There's no reason to do it.
Mhm.
But I mean, if you want to talk to Rob about that, you can. I know you talked about that in the first seminar.
I don't know. I'd agree with you that there's no reason to do it. Like, it's definitely more late game oriented, where you're, like you said, utility, and people are more grouped, and you need to provide that utility where you may not be able to get,
Mhm.
So, all right.
So it should do it for the evolution. So next one, if you guys are ready, this one was asked by Vlad. I'll unmute him, and he said, if he's even here, he said, is W worth evolving over Q, and in what situations? So that kind of goes with the last question. So who would like to lead that off, if you want to give any brief thoughts?
I think the only real point where you'd be making the decision between those two is at level 16, because you're either evolving Q first or last. You never really evolve at second, I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
So at level 6, we just talked about how Q is always better. At level 11, you're not going to evolve Q, even if you are going to evolve it at 16. At 16, you can make that decision if you go REW or REQ, but I don't. I guess it just depends on how much objective if you have something like Cassiopeia mid or something where you don't need objective control, then you probably don't need Q and you can go W. But if you have something with no DPS, you're going to need that, and you can just go Q over W. I think it just depends on what your team comp is and how much DPS you have for objectives, because at that point the more important thing is your objective control and your ability to DPS down Barons and Dragons.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like level 16 specifically, right? You're talking about.
Yeah, I don't think you'd ever do it at 6 or 11.
Well, I think it'll. I mean, don't people do QW? I mean, right?
Yeah,
So
but
is that something?
he's talking about the Q or W as the same.
Oh, Q or W. Okay. All right. Yeah, no doubt. Like level 6, I don't think W ever does something that Q can't really. I mean, with respect to the context of what you'd actually be doing in the early game.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I think for what you said, level 16 pretty much sums it up.
Okay. Anyone have any closing thoughts on where W evolve is useful? All right. So next topic. This one is asked by Racco, and I'll unmute him. He says, I know we touched on split pushing in both seminars as a reactive method to difficult situations and comps, but I was wondering if there were any comps/games that you would know immediately that you'd be split pushing. and building an early team at, etc. So, very good question. Who would like to start that one off?
All right. I mean, I can provide some context. Like, I don't think I'd be the best source for this. But like, I don't know. This may be wrong, but I don't think you would ever be able to know that before, like very early on in the game, right? Was that the question? Like, would you be able to know like in champion select basically?
Yeah.
Based on knowing comp.
Mm-hmm.
So
Just by looking at their comp.
I don't know. Like I hope you guys can add something to this because like I'm thinking that you would almost like if you knew that for sure. Like this one situation I'm thinking of is if you got obliterated 5v5. Like you knew you had absolutely no chance to 1v5 or like 5v5 them. In which case you would probably dodge. So
Yeah.
I don't know. That's pretty much my thought on that. But like that's the big thing I think of for split pushing. Like, do we get raped 5v5? Okay, I'll try and split push maybe, but. It's it's not that simple because if they have hard engage, they can just engage on your 4-man. So it's I don't know. I think we touched on that like pretty sufficiently last time. So
I really don't think it's a discussion that you can. It's a decision that you can make in champ select because if you have a strong split pusher, like let's say you have a Tryndamere or a Jackson, then it's already a strong split pusher. That alone is not going to tell you whether you're going to automatically splitting. If you don't have a strong split pusher, and if you have a Maokai top, that's also not going to tell you what you need to know. So it's really just dependent on the situation. There's never a time where you're like, yes, I'm going to. I'm not going to, just based on comps. I don't think ever.
Yeah,
it has to be reactive to situations.
Yeah, I just wanted to add. The reason I asked the question, I guess I could rephrase it slightly to maybe like earlier in the game because I found that when I do have to react to situations and I split push, a lot of people will be like, what is KhaZix doing split pushing because he's not like a traditional like Tryndamere or Jax. So I've just found that it's sometimes helpful if I can give my team like a little bit of a heads up saying like, okay, we don't win this 5v5, I'm going to be split push so I don't basically, because people will flame you like, what are you doing? You're not with the team. You're not going for picks. So I was just wondering if you guys had any.
How early in the game are you talking?
Yeah,
about?
like what are some of the early indications that a more experienced player might see rather than myself of like, okay, this is definitely going to be a split push type of game. I mean, are you waiting till you lose the 5v5, or are you looking at indications earlier than that, saying like, okay, I'm definitely going to have to. Split.
You could come away from like a fight where like it's just gonna get worse with their comp. Like if they're scaling and you come out even or you're down 1, then that'd be a good indicator rather than what most people do is like they'll lose 2 or 3 fights and then like, oh, now I'll split push. But at that point you're already so behind as a team that it's like almost too late.
Okay.
So just experience in general, you'll be able to gauge whether or not earlier in the game you'll be able to have that opportunity.
As far as people flaming you though, I really don't think that matters as much because you just give them a little bit of warning, be like, don't fight, I'm gonna split push, I'm gonna push out this wave, I'm gonna draw 1 or 2 people to me, don't fight. If they fight, that's their fault. They lost you the game. You told them exactly what your plan was, so just communicate what your plan is before you do it, and then they really have no reason to flame you because no one doubts KhaZix's ability to 1v1 people.
Mm-hmm.
So if you just communicate your desire to split push, I'm pretty sure they won't flame you, and if they get forced on and they're up too far and they get collapsed on and die, that's more their fault than yours.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
All right.
So I would add to that too. Like it's not necessarily like okay, I'm only split pushing this game. You know what I mean? You kind of feel it out in the moment. Like I'm gonna split push for a few minutes, but okay, now we got to go back to grouping or whatever's going on. So that's definitely one thing I want to emphasize. Also, like if the real purpose of this question is so that you can communicate with your teammates better, like I would definitely add that I don't think that matters at all. Like in my opinion, any effort to like communicate with your team is like wasted effort because I mean they may not understand what you're doing and they may not even know how to react. Pinging that you're on your way top is more than sufficient in my opinion. They're either going to understand what's going on or they're not, in my opinion, and typing something to them in chat, regardless of how early it is, I don't think that's going to help the situation.
Yeah, just communicating in general, just having clear communication of what you're going to be doing is something to help them not flame, because at least you put it out there and it's on them to react appropriately. So if they still rage, then it's not on you.
It's also worth it to use mute all. Like I'd recommend
That's
that
a good
every single game for climbing.
good advice too.
Okay.
You shouldn't need to communicate more than pings. That may be a radical opinion, but I think it works.
They are just like simple English for cavemen. But that should be it.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Alright, guess we're ready to move to the next topic. This one was asked by Melon Duck. I'll unmute him. He asked, should he ever change a usual evolution path against certain team comps or in accordance to certain...
I think One Girl 3 Balls had a question before that.
Did he?
I
Oh,
believe so.
I wrote it at the end.
Oh, GG.
Let's just go with that one. So should you change your evolution path in accordance to certain team comps? Or is that more static and not so dynamic? Nutty, you're here? You want to answer that first?
I think last season you definitely changed your evolution according to the team comp and the situation of the game, but I don't think this season. I think QEW's best.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is R going to give you in a certain situation? Really nothing.
Mm.
So I'm glad we came here because I actually have some questions about this, because I know in the last seminar we like Nutty, you were very outspoken about like QEW like 100% of the time. So I was actually hoping to pick your brain about a few things, like specifically QW, because that's one area where I think like good players, like they're not going to let you get these certain kinds of assassinations where you're actually making the full use out of your E. So in those situations, I want to hear your thoughts on potential justifications for taking W.
So there's two things, right? So the only thing that W would really be better in is like if you're not good at KhaZix and you don't know when to go into a team fight. Like if you don't know how to play team fights correctly as KhaZix, then W Evolve is better because all you have to do is sit in the back and throw W into the team fight, and you're applying 40% slow and a bit of damage. But the thing is if you're at that point of doing that where that's your play style, you should just play a different champion. Because sitting in a team fight and throwing out your W every time it's off cooldown, and that's all you're doing as KhaZix, you should just play a different champion, be better champions, do shit like that. For like picks and out of team fighting, E is just arguably better in almost every way if you know how to use it, because it's better for picks, it's safer for skirmishes, it's safer for getting vision down in the enemy jungle. It's overall safer than W in every single way.
I like that answer a lot. So I want to follow up, if you don't mind, like, because you talked about, like, basically if you're good at KhaZix, you're going to find that opportunity to use your E. So could you elaborate more on, like, what's going to separate a good and bad KhaZix in that situation where you're waiting to get a proper use of your E? Especially, like, one scenario that was particularly concerning to me was, like, if your team's losing, because I know in the first seminar you talked about KhaZix being like a win more champion, which makes perfect sense and I think is really helpful. But in the situation where your team's not winning, I feel like so how do you find those opportunities to use E, or do you?
Well, you have to get vision control. That's the number one thing. And vision control is a lot easier to get when you have evolved E, because if you have evolved W and you get picked, you're pretty much fucked, because your leap isn't going to save you when it's unevolved. That's why evolved E is super safe, because then you get vision control, and then you can make picks off of it, you can make better rotations off of it, which is what wins you games when you're behind. You want to get pink wards down as far as you can in the jungle, you want to get green trinkets down far in their jungle, and then you want to make rotations on objectives and making picks off of that.
Mm-hmm.
And
vision control in general is just quintessential to all assassins, really.
Hey, Daniel, I have to go back to my old apartment for a second and take care of some
Okay.
stuff. I have to go. I'll see you guys later.
Oh, okay. Anyone want to follow up to that?
I have one more for, well, I guess it's for everyone, but so in that situation, Because so that's the behind situation, right? Well, I guess in general too, you always want to be focused on vision control, but I feel like people picture, especially when they talk about W evolved second, they picture the situation with like, three or so tanks, the shielding support, and they think, okay, how the hell am I going to get an E off? Like, how am I going to get a reset off in that situation?
In a team fight or in a skirmish or?
Let's say a team fight or a skirmish. Yeah, let's say. When I'm thinking about this right now, I'm mostly thinking team fight. So, I mean, would the context change that much? If it does, like, definitely feel free to elaborate.
Yeah, it definitely does. So, like, I guess, which one should I start with? I guess in a pick situation? Or no, I'll do team fight since you wanted team fight.
Yeah,
so,
because I think picks are straightforward in my opinion.
In a team fight situation, when they have 3+ tanks, like, you having evolved W, you're not gonna do that much damage unless you like fucking second item to LDR or like third item to LDR. Like, you're not gonna do enough damage to out damage the tank and sustain team comp. Like, you're gonna be pretty much. So you want to make sure that you can clean up. So like you have to rely. This is the kind of point where you have to rely on your. Right, you have to have your team get their carries or support low enough so then you clean up and pretty much win the fight. So during a team fight, when you have evolved wings, you only can go in when you 100% know you get a kill. Like, as soon as you know that that person will die to your combo, that's when you go in. If you're going in just to do damage and not kill someone, you're playing it wrong and you're going to lose the team fight. So you kind of have to pray that your team gets, like, let's say they have a Lulu Kog'Maw, you have to pray that your team just gets Lulu or Kog'Maw low enough. If not, then you should just play to split. Like, if they're too ahead with that team comp, then like no other team comp beats Kog'Maw Lulu in a team fight anyway. So it's like, it's really hard in this meta for KhaZix fight. Assassin KhaZix, you could build bruiser KhaZix. Like, I still think bruiser KhaZix is stronger than assassin KhaZix right now. But that's just because of the meta. Shield and tank.
I don't want to get off topic, but if you guys think this is too off topic, we can save it for later. But like specifically, what when you say bruiser KhaZix, what do you actually mean?
Like black cleaver tank items, like not like Dead Man's black cleaver, shit like that. Bruiser KhaZix.
Yeah.
Maw.
So would you actually build Dead Man's Plate on KhaZix?
I mean, you can. Any tank item works.
An option.
See, to me, all right, like, again, I don't want to get off topic, just let me know if this is too off topic, but like, in the Dead Man's Plate conversation, I just don't see any reason why you would ever need
I mean,
to
it's not specifically Dead Man's Plate. I was just listing off tank
or, like,
items.
any full tank item, Dead Man's Plate, Randuin, Spirit Visage, anything that's a full tank item with no offensive stats. I don't see why you would build it.
I mean, there's no reason not to on KhaZix because he has Q refund, so he has infinite sustained damage. There's no reason to not go tank item. Like, his damage output is already fine. You know?
True, and this is in a situation where you're specifically dealing with tanks, right?
If you're bruiser KhaZix, like, I'm just saying bruiser KhaZix. I'm not saying assassin KhaZix. On assassin KhaZix, you go GA.
You want to differentiate that.
Item. Maybe Maw. Those are the only defensive item on assassin KhaZix. Because on assassin KhaZix, you need the damage output, and those defensive items aren't going to help you. They're not going to help you make picks, shit like that. Like, GA helps you a lot because on KhaZix, GA is like super busted on him. So it's super abusable. That's like the only defensive item you go. Bruiser KhaZix is completely different. It's got a completely different playstyle. And I just think it's stronger right now than assassin KhaZix.
All right, one quick follow-up on that. So for Bruiser KhaZix, that's where I don't understand why you wouldn't go W second for Bruiser KhaZix. Or did we already say that you did?
Yeah, you go W second on Bruiser KhaZix.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
exclusively.
Okay. So that all makes sense to me now.
Yeah, we're a little on a tangent now.
Oh yeah.
Should wrap that one up and move on to another question.
I don't even remember the original
We kind of beat that one a little too far.
Was this a split pushing question?
I think it actually was. Yeah, we should probably move on.
Word.
Light asks, why black cleaver and not white cleaver? No, wait, that's not a real question.
Christ. White cleaver lives matter.
Next one is, out of the new runes, which ones might Ka utilize best? Which I can't really personally answer because I haven't looked too much into the runes. So, if you guys want to give insight on that.
I haven't seen him either. But if someone has info, I mean, maybe we can pull it up and talk about it.
Mhm.
What was the question? My headset died.
The new runes, which ones would utilize best?
Oh,
Yeah.
Thunderlords. There's not really that many for them. Where's the mega thread? I'm pretty sure there's a mega thread of all the new runes. It's been mostly like mid lane runes. We don't know. Also, like
Yeah, they're not all
it's really bad to discuss this right now for a lot of reasons, right? Like not all of them are released or announced yet, and second off, like they're gonna change.
Yeah,
This is not what they're gonna be at all. So it's kind of pointless to discuss it right now.
Mhm.
We could discuss how stupid they are and how Riot should change them before they release them because it could fuck the game really hard, like Summoner Spell Switch and a free zone is. But anyways,
Mm-hmm. Well, we can move on to the next question then. I think we have a few that are piling up. Let's see. Oh, this one was asked before, so best version of KhaZix. So this could start when he was released, Season 4, Season 5, Season 6, right now.
I mean, I think the beginning of this season he was actually his strongest. Bruiser Kha'Zix was being played.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, he was insane back in Season 4 and 3. 8% sing HP, 50% damage reduction. That's all. That shit was insane.
That was, yeah, I would say, like, strongest. I mean, I didn't know the game as well back then, but, like, leading into Season 4, like, he got some nerfs, if I'm remembering correctly, like, right at the beginning of Season 4, end of Season 3. But before that, I mean, he had to be just, like, one of the most insane champions in the game. I mean, if you go back and look at his kit at the time, it was so fucking overloaded.
Yeah,
like,
the 50% damage reduction was just made
that's
him a
what I'm
must
saying.
pick in Worlds.
And he had, like, missing health on the Q still, like...
Yeah, and you could also like W in mid-air, which was just stupid. You know, you could just like get so easy kills and yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was disgusting. Hmm.
Can we talk about the worst as well, in addition to the best?
Beginning or preseason of
Season 5
Season-
preseason?
Yeah, that's what I
That
was...
one's
6 or
probably
Season
the
5?
worst.
Whenever the fuck his win rate hit 39%, that was dog.
That had to be, like, early Season 5. That's when I remember
Yeah, I
being,
believe
like,
it
you
was.
couldn't
It was
even
a
clear the
preseason-
fucking jungle.
It was preseason, either preseason
Yeah.
Season 6 or Season 5. It was one of those two. I think it was Season 5.
Mm-hmm.
Preseason.
That's when the tank meta like became a horrible thing at first, like right after Season 4.
Not flaming, but I think Nutty was just bad then. Challenger bad? My bad. Sorry.
Yeah, we need some more questions, guys. So feel free to ask in the KhaZix discussion channel, and we'll get to them because there's really not too many. So whatever you guys want to have some people elaborate on, just ask. How should I fight huge CC tanks as KhaZix with a lot of
What do you
patience?
mean by that? What does he mean, like in a pick? Like 1v1? Does he
I
mean
muted
like
him.
in a team fight?
He can talk, I think. He's here. Yo. KhaZix. Like 1v1 and in team fights.
Well, in 1v1, you shouldn't really lose because Q refund. Team fights, you kind of just peel your backline and you kill squishies. You kind of ignore tanks unless they're like ISO'd hitting your backline. It's like the only real time during a team fight you'll hit a tank.
Okay.
Yeah, just generally a lot of patience where you're going to be letting your team do most of the work and just waiting for an opportunity for someone to split off or just...
Like
Just
the big
basic.
question is, like, I feel like when I'm 1v1ing Sejuani specifically with, like, the enormous amount of armor she starts out with, like, what's the best way to engage that fight?
Yeah, you have to kite her for her passive. So, like, if you're fighting her, like, you want to proc her passive and then kite her until her passive is gone.
Okay.
Yeah, just like Q auto, slow walk away, to
They're
throw
passive.
W's.
Fucking
Yeah.
dumb.
Yeah, it is. And should you be building lethality at all versus tanks, or should you really go more for like?
I mean, it
the
depends what your play style is really like. Do you want to play bruiser or do you want to play assassin KhaZix? You know, like that's what it comes down to.
Can you even kill tanks as assassin KhaZix? I feel like you trade almost
You can.
evenly.
If you get a lead and you don't drop it and you just keep pushing it, then yeah.
Well, once you get Duskblade, you pretty much 1v1.
Yeah, Duskblade as
tank.
well. It's
Because they're
just
not
really
gonna
item dependent.
They're not gonna out damage you. Like people think you can't 1v1 it. I mean, the only way you can't 1v1 a tank is if a teammate comes and helps. But that's not really a one. It's not technically.
Yeah, true.
But a tank's goal is to fucking have you sit there and try to kill him for long enough that his team does come. So you just have to be wary of that. Like you should just out trade him until you see an enemy teammate coming, and then leave. If they don't come, then you get a free kill. That's all it really is.
No, well, thank you. I think that answers my question pretty well.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for asking. Next question. How often do you build Death Dance and when should you buy it? No one's asked this before, and it was asked by John. So,
always after jungle item. Finished. If you finish your build, sell your jungle item, get Death Dance every time.
that voice sounds familiar.
I'm a US player, Freudenhaus.
I think I've heard that before.
Very hard stuck in my diamond. It's very upsetting.
Yeah.
You can see my op.gg. It's not a very good player.
Let me. Oh, this one wasn't asked by John. It was asked by Jimmy Beans. You have the same.
Maybe one season you'll get out of diamond, dude.
Yeah, me too.
I have found my new build very successful against tank meta. Go Ninja Tabbies with Warrior, and then just get Duskblade right after Warrior. Get a pickaxe, finish your LDR, and then get Scimitar. That way, you don't have to ever make the decision between Tabby or Mercs. You'll always have both, and if you get good, then you can just Captain Jack everything. And tanks aren't a problem. You have LDR like second and a half item.
Yeah, I'm gay.
Fair enough.
I mean, I had
Virtue,
enough damage to deal with tanks.
Virtue, you still here? You could add,
what's up?
add a lot to Death Dance.
Oh,
Since
true.
It's your items.
Since we brought up LDR real quick, I just want to say, like, that item for killing tanks, like, it's the shit. Like, even the numbers back it up. It's huge. Death Dance,
It's a good item.
Okay, so I see no reason why you can't build it. I personally don't. So it's real in that situation. Like, it's pretty much like if we're talking about damage efficiency, it's gonna fall in line with the likes of Maw and Cleaver. So it's kind of lower in the pack. So you're building it for the utility.
Well, just to preface that, where would you fit that into the build exactly? Just around what point in the game or after which item?
I think that's up to you. I mean, I see no reason why you would get it before Duskblade. And I would even go as far to say I see no reason why you would get it when you don't have LDR. Because to me, it's for sustained damage, right? And that's going to synergize with extended fights. And if you're in an extended fight with anyone, they probably have armor and health. So hence the LDR taking priority. So I'd say it was like, if you wanted to do something like really, like the quickest I would say to get it, and this is just my opinion, would be like Duskblade, LDR, Death Dance. Besides that, like I think you definitely hear selling it for your jungle item. I mean, that makes sense too, depending on your preference for the smite versus the healing and damage reduction for Death Dance. I don't know. I mean, I think it's important to understand like what the item can do for you. With that being said, though, I've never really found very many games, if any, where I've been compelled to build it.
So you'd be giving up Dust or Ghostblade in that situation?
Hello.
Oh, hi. Thank you. Did you want to add to Death Dance opinions, Krakow?
I'm French.
Kill yourself. Okay, next question. Just kidding. No suicide. Hi, French. Are you guys good on Death Dance? Anyone have any closing thoughts on that item? just in general, if it's viable, or if you guys tried it.
I'll even go as far as say if you're gonna spend 3,500 gold, grab Hydra.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not building the stand, so I'm just going for Hydra instead. I've like always been doing that, so I don't really know about the stance. So
I
just
feel like the buff it got earlier in the season when it got like 5 or 10 AD, I forgot which one it was, whichever.
5.
That's when I believe people were trying it all out, like right after Dust Dance, or Duskblade, I mean. I think it was okay then.
The thing is, on paper, Death Stance looks really good for KhaZix.
Yeah.
It costs way too much gold. Problem.
Mm-hmm.
If it costs less, it'd be really strong.
Build
What
path
about-
kind of sucks too.
What value would you put on the passive for Dust Dance?
Which one? Healing
There-
or
I guess
damage reduction?
either. Just
It's really strong.
non-stat.
Because KhaZix benefits a lot from the healing passive, but it's like, it's just, it's not worth. It's 3,800 gold. Like, sucks.
Yeah.
Can't really build it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I want to add a little bit. It's interesting too because like Death Stance for sure is like tied for the most expensive item you can get on KhaZix. Besides, oh, actually no, it's tied for second because Merc Skim's 3,800. And then Hydra and Death Stance are 3,500.
Oh, Trinity Force. Come on.
Can we talk about
true.
the KhaZix buff in PBO?
Where is that? PBE?
This is, yeah,
Today?
yeah,
Where?
The fuck?
Oh,
in
let's see.
PBO.
Yeah. I don't see it.
What do you think about this buff?
I don't see it.
He's trolling.
Oh, the
strong.
Wooglets? Oh, that's a huge buff for KhaZix.
Oh, dude, Wooglets for
On
sure. Yeah.
Twisted Tree Line, we're going to get more ability power off of Wooglets. It's going to be really strong.
Yeah, I agree actually. I think that's a huge buff, the Twisted Tree Line KhaZix.
I mean, if you're not building Wooglets already though, like I don't really know what to say to you.
Just give up KhaZix.
I agree. Thank you, Krakow.
True, but yeah, I was gonna say even though Death Stance cost a lot, like efficiency-wise, it's ranked slightly higher than some of the other utility items you would get, like Cleaver, for example, Maw.
Yeah.
I mean, the damage, the overall damage efficiency is slightly higher, so it kind of depends. I mean, if you have the cash, but no doubt it is bulky. Like 3,500 gold. Like when you compare it to Maw 3,200, it may not sound like a lot, but it's a pretty significant difference. I mean, we're talking about a kill, so.
And Jungle's gold income is so low right now that like you
for
can't
real.
really afford an expensive item.
Yeah. Don't worry, it's compensated for how much XP you get. Ridiculous.
Yeah, I just want to make like an announcement real quick. If you guys want elo, just go play support. Like support's the strongest role right now. Just go play Donna,
It
please.
feels bad.
Or play AD and find yourself a nice girl.
Or AD carry. AD carry and support decide the game right now. If you guys don't realize this, go gank bot lane 3 minutes. Like you'll
You
win.
guys
the game.
haven't found a Janna duo yet? Just go to like a social Discord or like
Janna
any
main.
place with a lot of e-girls. Go to Janna Main's Discord. It's Rocket Main's.
Support's the strongest role now. AD carry is close second. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
think they're just tied with each other, you know. Play those roles.
I think with that we
Enjoy your free
we
love.
can kind of move on to the next question.
Yep.
This one is current thoughts or thoughts on the current direction of the game and how you think Riot is going to change the game for the future. So this one's more general than
I
KhaZix
fucking love that question.
Riot!
KhaZix based.
So we're
Riot!
taking that question, right? We're gonna discuss.
Yeah, for sure.
Wait,
It doesn't have
we're
to be
talking about
KhaZix.
KhaZix and not the
It doesn't
entire game?
doesn't have to be KhaZix related questions.
Oh yeah.
Wait, so is this question KhaZix related, or is this
You
the
could fit
entire
in a
game, like
KhaZix.
Riot's?
You could fit in how it relates to KhaZix if you want.
Answer it with your heart. How does your heart tell you to answer it?
I think Riot just wants the game to be a bunch of gimmicks and tank and shield. I think that's all it is. They're gonna keep adding gimmicks to the game, like the new runes. They're gonna keep adding plants. They're gonna keep adding these weird ass gimmicks. They're gonna keep.
Why
buffing
don't they
tanks.
add
They're
jungle
gonna keep
quests?
buffing supports. Like, it,
Sorry.
like look what they did to the jungle this season. The past like 4 seasons, we didn't want Riot to change the jungle because it was fine, and then they changed it. And then this season, they changed it to something fucking horrendous, and they don't want to change it. Like it just doesn't make any sense to me. They want the game to be gimmicks. That's it. Probably gonna do something really dumb after season 8. I will predict that in season 9, we'll see this crazy gimmick that'll be like, oh, if you get 1 kill, you lose 500. Some shit like that. It's gonna be really dumb.
Yeah, jungle quests are coming. Just quote me on that.
Jungle
Look at-
Quest.
Supports
Yeah,
won't be the
that'll
only ones with
probably
quests.
Like, look at
Yeah.
the new runes coming out, dude. Freeze them.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
No, I haven't looked at them at all. I'm kind of scared. I mean, so this kind of leads into what I would say about this. Like, I really don't like change for the sake of change, especially when you have a game that's so
Exactly. I
hard to
agree.
balance at the highest level. Like, I feel like Riot is thinking, oh, we need to keep the game fresh. We need to do this. We need to do that. When really, like, it's not about keeping things fresh. Like, the casual player doesn't fucking understand any of these changes that you're making, and it's basically irrelevant to them. Where
I
these
mean,
changes are actually
also,
affecting is
On a
like the highest
competitive
level
level,
players.
people are gonna find change and find counters to counters just on its own, even without the game changing. Just look at like StarCraft or games
Yeah,
that are
that's a good
updated a lot
point.
less frequently. The player base is gonna find a way to add depth and to add just more strategy and try new things on their own without
That's
the
what I
game
mean.
constantly.
I mean, Riot has too much control on the balance. So there's really, once something gets buffed so heavily, there's really no control pro play. Like, if you ask any pro player about like the strongest champion, it has no fucking counters. Like, the point of Riot, or the point the game has hit right now, is that champions' baseline strength is so fucking high. For a champion to be meta, they had to be good at everything right now. If you look at past seasons, like, the meta champions were good at like 2 things. Like, oh, this champ's good at wave clearing, and this champ's good at being safe and not getting picked. This season, like, it's like the strongest meta champs, they have to be good at everything. They had to be good at wave clearing, they had to be good at being safe, they had to be good at team fighting, they had to be good at 1v1ing, they had to be good at pushing towers. Like, every champion is good at everything, and it's way too strong. There's so many good examples, like Orianna. She's good at fucking everything. She's the safest laner. She's insane at team fights. She can one-shot someone 0-0-0 with Morel and Omicron. Like, every champion's baseline strength is so fucking high right now because Riot's balancing team let it get out of hand.
Wait,
For-
but you missed the huge nerf on the PBE for Locket. It can't
Oh, yeah,
stack
dude.
anymore, and it lost 3 on the shield, dude.
I think Ivern's
3
destroyed
whole
now.
damage. Ivern's destroyed. Can't play him. Lulu, non-existent. Bye, guys.
I just
I
don't
agree
understand
with
how
that.
gaming companies don't realize that, like, it's been the death of all big games. It's the same thing over and over and over again. It's like, why change your game if people fucking love it? It doesn't make sense. People would non-stop play old League for like 10 years straight. Why do you think people are going to legacy servers for WoW? Why do you think people want Warcraft 3 back? Why do you think people want Age of Empires back? The old game they could play for
Age
fucking
of
years
Empires 4.
without change. I could play fucking old WoW for like
Mhm.
20 years straight without getting bored. I fucking love
Yeah.
that game. Old League,
Awesome.
Season 3, Season 4, I could play that game for like 20 years straight without getting bored. Why are we changing
No
the game
doubt.
for no fucking reason?
Also, to add
Doesn't
on to
make any
that,
sense.
the player base adds to the problem because they expect so much frequent change that if they don't get that, they're gonna bitch
I
and
mean,
whine.
that's why we
That's
shouldn't
what
listen.
they expect,
That's why we
like,
shouldn't
yeah.
listen to low elo fucks who don't
Yeah.
matter. They don't
mean,
matter at all.
I would contest that though. Does the player base really want change? Like, at least people that I talk to, like, pretty much agree on the point. Like, the game's fine. Like, what the fuck are you doing besides minor balance tweaks here and there? Like, you don't need to overhaul the game every season and things like that. Like, I don't know. I feel like what keeps leagues fresh for the casual players is just like playing with friends and shit like that. Like trying new champions. Like, they don't. I feel like these things
Mhm.
that they're doing to try and make the game fresh are having more impact on the people that are playing the game regardless than they are on the casual players that are playing the game for fun.
Yeah, I agree 100%. If they want to change the game, I don't mind. Just don't touch Summoner's Rift. Add new game types. Add fucking custom games. where you
Twisted
play
Tree Line. My
different-
Yeah,
time.
exactly. Just
Like,
Yeah.
don't touch ranked. Don't touch Summoner's Rift. Go make fucking Earth.
Play Rift.
Go change Earth. I don't
Just
care.
make bigger patches that are more infrequent. Sure.
That appeals to casual players more. If you're like adding new game modes like Earth and shit like that, that's actually fun. So like garbage game modes like Blood Moon and shit like that, then fine.
I'm surprised you mentioned Poro King.
Yeah. Poro King. That
You
game
would
just
pick
sucks
Poro
ass.
King?
Who plays Poro King? Raise
There
your
you
hand.
I played it once.
Oh.
See, there's some people.
I tried it. Yeah, I tried it.
I mean,
If you guys play Poro King, get the
it's no, don't say that.
no.
Don't say that.
No, you guys
Uh,
can play whatever you want.
This is officially a Poro King main Discord, so if you guys
I
have
love
any
it.
questions that relate to Poro
I take
King,
it back.
feel free.
So what's the best upgrade for the Poro? You like feed them stuff, right?
I don't.
Yeah,
I
you give
don't-
them the
I
right
don't-
you don't-
biscuit.
You don't upgrade it, do you? I thought you just like summoned it and stood next to it, and it
I thought
healed.
you buy a
I don't
certain
know what it
Poro
actually
King
does.
biscuit.
It like shoots snowballs at people or something.
It fucking shoots lasers, I think.
You shoot lasers? Wait, that's cool as hell.
I think Poro King's the best champ in the current meta.
Where's my Poro King playable character DLC?
Yeah, I know, right? And Earth.
DLC, yeah.
Oh man, dude, I can see that. Can anyone see a new champion that's a Poro with like
That'll
a
probably be
Poro
season
related
9.
support kit?
That'll probably be the gimmick of season 9 that we're talking about, dude. Oh, we ran out of ideas, so we're gonna release fucking Poro King as a champion. Earth. Like that'll be season 9, and they'll dominate the meta because they're gonna be tanks. We already know, like, and shield support.
Dude, I think it's real interesting to bring up other games in this discussion too, because I think that's a absolutely fair point that we definitely do see downfalls of games changing too much, and I think it's a real concern for League. Especially, one point I would like to emphasize is the Worlds patches. Like, how many years in a row have we gone into Worlds with like a fucking wacky ass patch?
Oh, nothing's gonna top 2015.
Well, this season they haven't really changed much going into
Yeah,
Worlds.
this season's been the best.
We've
for
been
that.
tank and shield fucking meta for the past how
Which
many
is
patches?
kind
I don't
of
know.
actually sad because no one wants to see that at Worlds, but
Yeah, it's so boring. Have you guys watched Pro? This is the least amount
like
of
you
Pro
know
Play
it's
games that I've
bad
ever
when
watched.
Spirit's like, hey, I can actually play Lulu Jungle in competitive.
Yeah,
Sad, dude.
it's
No,
like they
but,
can't find a balance between like changing it drastically before Worlds and keeping it stale with support, trash, meta, and tanks.
True.
I think they should just have a history class for this. I'm
'Cause the
tired
other
of fucking
spectrum
big
was-
ass companies ruining their games for never.
The other side of the
like,
spectrum was like Gangplank, the rework of 2015
He
Worlds, and
died, dude. He died.
Mordekaiser,
Dude,
ADC,
Mordekaiser bot.
Mordekaiser
You just,
ADC,
like, roll that
100%
shit
win
out.
rate.
Like,
Didn't
roll it
drop
out
a game at
before
Worlds.
Like, that doesn't impact the competitive integrity of a world, like, you know, the worldwide tournament. Like, I don't fucking know, man. It doesn't make sense to me, at least.
I mean, maybe it'll be like last season where after Worlds they'll just instantly change the whole meta. Like after Worlds last season, I forgot what meta. I think we were in like a tank meta, and then after Worlds, once it ended, they just instantly nerfed like Cinderhawk and Spirit Visit. Like the meta
True,
changed.
yeah.
So I think maybe Riot will do the same this season. I have no idea. I'm guessing that's what they're gonna do. Hopefully.
I would like time for a patch to become solved. I don't think we've really seen that frequently over the years. You know,
I
like
would be
because things
less
change so
annoyed
quickly.
if they were like, okay, this is season 8, okay, it's gonna be a fighter meta, right? And then they try to cater to that, right? And then they'll be like, okay, now it's like mage meta or something, right? Like, while that's slightly harder to do, I feel like it's more healthy than like teams with like Phoenix One and stuff. They got people like Mike Young, right? Like he's insane on carry junglers, and now he's like playing tanks, and he's like,
Yeah. No, like, I agree. I don't know if you meant it like this, but I think if Riot just told me ahead of time, hey, yeah, we understand that we're in a tank and shield meta right now, but don't worry, like, as soon as Worlds is over, don't worry, we're going to change it, and we're going to make sure it's like assassin, bruiser meta, like 80 carry meta, shit like that. I mean, it's already 80 carry meta. You get my point, though, right? Like, if they ensured me that this meta would go away in the future, I would be fine. I would play the game. I wouldn't care, because I know that I'm going to eventually enjoy the game.
if I knew like as soon as preseason hits, I'm gonna see a bunch of changes that tone down tanks, tone down shields, or like something like that, I'd be like, okay, it's still worth it to play the game because I know my style will be viable.
Yeah, good.
And,
But the thing is we have no idea. I'm expecting it to be tank shields meta until the end of this.
Yeah, and even like the new rune that like gives you a Zanya's level 1, like.
Yep.
Oh, that's lovely.
And the one that lets you change spells.
Yeah, very
that's just weird.
balanced.
Wait, what's the KhaZix buff?
He's trolling. Just the Wiglet switch cap buff.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Love me that first 33 change. It's working as intended.
Mm-hmm.
My friend that's on his main, but he's Diamond 5 on Smurf. played with a Diamond 5. They beat the rank 1 player and the rank 3 player, and they lost 1 LP.
So let's give other people a chance to give their thoughts on the direction that the game's taking, if anyone has any opinions on that and what it relates to with KhaZix. Otherwise, we can move on to the next question. Because we dwelled on this one a while. Someone's just spamming no in the chat. The original question was thoughts on the current game direction and how you think Riot is going to change the game in the future.
Riot's just going to continue to do whatever they want. They don't care about balance. They just make changes for the sake of making changes.
Could also relate to jungle in general. I don't think they could fuck the jungle up worse next season if they do change it overall, drastically.
Don't say that, dude. I've been saying that for the
Make
past
it go
3
back
seasons.
to where all the laners take our camps.
Oh no, that was the worst. Just become a support bitch.
It's really ironic how, past 4 seasons, I think the jungle was fine, even though they kept changing it. And then the season that the jungle is completely fucked, they don't want to change it. They already said that they're not going to do any huge changes to the jungle. It makes me sad.
We've heard your feedback from 3 years ago, and we heard that you don't want any more jungle changes, so we're going to stop.
So a good example of how bad the jungle is I took 3 camps. I was playing against Rhubarbs yesterday. I took 3 camps, ganked top Jace for first blood, and Rhubarbs farmed his entire jungle and took my entire red side jungle, and I was a level ahead of him.
Correct.
He took
Working as intended.
Was that 8 camps, and I took 3?
Seems good.
That's what I'm saying, dude. You can double or triple someone's CS and then be the same level. There's just not enough strategic trade-off there, in my opinion. You just gank. What's the point?
Yep. This season, it's better to wait in a brush for 4 minutes, pray that you get a gank off, than to farm your jungle. That's how fucking sad this is.
Yeah, the only time
if you don't get the gank off.
farming's worth it is if you can tell your teammates, okay, literally just AFK and I'm just going to out-farm them.
I've actually been thinking I'm just going to play Gragas or something that ganks really strong every game and just sit bot lane until I can get and I think that's what I'm going to do.
The Rex side, AFK behind the enemy turret, looking for ganks.
The worst part about it is even if you're counter jungling, you need to repeatedly counter jungle all of the camps you've been counter jungling, and if you don't counter jungle them once, he gets 2 levels off that one camp. Pretty bad.
True that.
Yeah. I think we can wrap up that question. Move on. If anyone has anything else to add. This one was PM'd to me. Someone asked, which of the upgrade for the new champion, which of the upgrade items would be viable on KhaZix? I think they're all not that great.
The only one that he buys is Black Cleaver, right? Sometimes.
Yeah.
They didn't give assassins a item in that, if you guys noticed.
Yeah, I know. My friend Yamakazi was like, what about Yomu's or it can't be Yomu's, and it's Edge of Night's too situational, so it's
You guys want to know something that will blow your fucking minds? This is how much Riot doesn't pay attention. They think Black Cleaver is an assassin.
Yeah, I know. It's really weird. They're oh, God, get it.
I straight up asked Riot, I was like, hey, Ornn doesn't have an item for 80 assassin. And they replied, Black Cleaver. And I just fucking slammed my face into my desk. Yep.
Dude, I have a huge problem with that. You know why? Because Black Cleaver used to have 55 AD, and they changed it to have less AD and more health.
I mean, it used to be an assassin item, 100%.
Yeah.
Brutalizer is fucking insane. I love that.
Oh yeah.
I love Black Cleaver. If you guys don't know me, Black Cleaver is my favorite item in the game. I love that item. It's not an assassin. I'm sorry. It's a fucking bruiser.
Dude, it makes, they literally, I can pull up the patch notes right now. They were talking about Garen. They were talking about Darius. They were not talking about fucking Talon and Kha'Zix when they made those cleaver changes, so they obviously have acknowledged it as a bruiser item.
But I
so
thought
don't
they
think
changed
it's fair of
it
them to
because
say.
they didn't like that assassins were building it.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure,
they lost
word
its
for word, that's
identity
what
for
it
a second.
says.
Yeah. I mean, they did compensate by buffing some other assassin items and adding. I think they added Duskblade around that time.
Dude, literally, word for word from the patch notes, Black Cleaver is meant for fighters like Darius.
Yeah.
You Riot.
They even tried that to a degree with Maw as well. They're like, they don't want assassins to build it anymore. Hex Drinker.
Yeah, that's why I took the armor pen off it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can't do both. You can't change the item to be a bruiser item and then say, oh yeah, it's an assassin item. Didn't you know that, guys?
We can move on to next question.
Yeah, next one was asked by Light. He said, how do you make Stormraiders with Q into R upgrade work? Yeah.
Wait, what?
said-
Stormraiders? Oh.
Stormraiders and Q into R upgrade. Interesting wording for that question.
I think he means like if you go Q Evo into R Evo with Stormraider Surge, I guess, and rely on that instead of like leaps.
Uh-huh.
Interesting, but less valuable with CC.
For doing the team fight.
How do you make it work?
What would your R provide you?
Oh,
The third charge, dude. Didn't you read the patch notes? Come on.
Yeah. Unlucky.
I mean, if we don't have too much more to say, we can skip
I
that.
mean, I would agree. Like, I don't see what that does for you.
Lowers your damage output. That's what it does. There you go.
I mean,
And your escape. It lowers your damage output and your escape.
I mean, I don't know. It doesn't. And I think if you want to know about like what Stormraiders, like the first seminar is as good of an explanation as you're gonna get on Stormraiders, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was really like inclusive of everything, everyone's thoughts on it. Got really good. Think we can go to the next one, which is the Kayn matchup, which I personally like this question because I've seen Kayn like every game almost. So
I don't.
who wants to lead that off?
Can I? Because I have to go soon.
Yeah.
Scrims?
Sure.
So I don't think Kayn's that good because inherently he's bad at fighting champions early game, right? And he wants to get a lead by like outpathing people with his spammable like mobility over walls and stuff to take camps, but that's not that good right now. So as long as you can get a couple of ganks off or farm, then it's literally irrelevant. And at level 6 with Q evolve, you beat him, so it's not difficult.
I mean, KhaZix pretty much wins the matchup until little Kayn evolves. Unless you're
how would you guys,
unless you're so ahead that you just one-shot Kayn.
How would you guys compare the different paths you can take? How does that change the matchup for KhaZix?
Like Shadow versus
Yeah.
Shadow, it just makes him easier to kill because he loses like man. So I mean, if you get hit by his W double Q, then you're playing it wrong. So
yeah, you just have to die. I think you beat Assassin Kayn. I think Assassin Kayn's not really that strong.
Yeah, I think it's a little underpowered in general.
Yeah.
It'll pop off.
I mean, I think it's good in solo queues because like he can just one tap random plebs solo queue. Like I think it's good in solo queue. But I think Darken's better.
Yeah, it is. Anything with percentage HP in this meta right now is just gonna excel. Just gonna do really good. Anyone have any thoughts on the Kayn matchup versus KhaZix?
I don't know. I think that pretty much sums it up. I always beat Kayn early on. Like, I've never had any problems with a Kayn, except later on when they're tanky and shit. And they, you know, they're ult. Obviously, like, if you're trying to kill a Kayn, like, you have to keep that in mind that he's going to be able to buy time for his team to collapse no matter what. So I usually just destroy him early and then ignore him later on. It's pretty much
how
I've been going about it.
Yeah. This one was asked by She-Death, and I'll unmute him. He's here. He asked, how do you feel about the charged blink mastery for invading on KhaZix and other champions that early invade? I'm not too familiar with that mastery, so
yeah, we shouldn't really talk about the new masters. I don't, because they're subject to change. There's not all of them have been released. Like thing is, I would discuss this 100%. I don't mind discussing it, but it's like if a better rune comes out, then like it's wasted what we talked about because then you'll just run the other rune. I don't really like talking about the new rune until they're all out.
Yeah. We do need some more questions, so if anyone has any, just type it in KhaZix discussion. We'll get to it. This one is Duskblade Black Cleaver for Bruiser KhaZix into Bruiser. What does that mean, Richard Butt?
Hold on, I'm finding the person that asked it. I saw it earlier. Yeah, just give me a sec. I'll find you who asked it.
Sure. And for anyone else, just feel free to type your question in the discussion channel. It doesn't have to relate directly to KhaZix, just the state of the game or jungling, anything you guys want.
Oh, hey, look at the chat, Light.
Which one?
I got you.
Okay. How do I ask this question?
He said he wanted to see if Duskblade could be abused.
Abused?
Yeah.
By what? Bruiser KhaZix?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would still go Duskblade and Bruiser KhaZix.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, that's the cool thing about Duskblade is, like, it's the most efficient item for killing squishies, and it's the most efficient item for killing tanks. So there's pretty much no reason not to build it.
Do you always build it first? Is what Benson asked.
I would say so, yeah. I mean, like I said, it's...
After Warrior.
Yeah, after
On Bruiser.
Warrior.
Yeah. Jimmy Beans asked, where should I ward the enemy jungle if I get a chance? So that's more of a general jungling question.
What was the question? I zoned out.
Like, where would you ward?
Oh,
in the enemy jungle.
Do we have like a map to pull up? Like,
just
I can get you one real quick if you want.
Basically, it's like.
Yeah, it's specifically in the enemy jungle. So if you're ahead, assumably.
Like over the blue bush, the blue buff brush, over that brush, and that like little circle area of connectors, like the crossroads. Red side, either in the red buff brush across red buff, or the race brush, or the brush the opposite side of red buff. I don't know how to explain it. Those are the best wording spots.
You can rift kit it and then screenshot it and post it.
Yeah, the links people post it's really good for that.
I'll show you. I'll post the one real quick that I would do. I definitely don't know if it's optimal or anything like that, but.
J. Is that jungle?
I'm not sure what the J is for.
Yeah, it's jungle.
Okay. There's one that I do.
Yeah, that's like exactly what I was gonna post. Yours is better though, because you did the pink chords.
Yeah, I like the pink near the red bush. Especially, I feel like no one ever clears that.
For real. Oh, I want to show one more actually that I've been doing lately, because like the one by red buff, like I feel like people are starting to catch on to that. So there's one more I like to do. Like the bush behind it, I'll put it on a map.
Instead of warding the blue bush, better to ward over that wall.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, you're talking about where you see blue and grump, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I forget about that sometimes.
If you can put it at the intersection of all three of those roads, like if you have the ability to walk in that deep, that'd be better.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're at that point where you're at their blue brush, probably, I don't think I've seen a scenario where you can't.
Here, these two pink wards I've been doing like lately. I think they can be pretty strong.
Mm.
If you're in a situation where you feel like they're gonna catch on to like the other place where you'd normally put the pink ward.
I mean, they're deep as fuck, but yeah. You guys have any other thoughts on warding? It's pretty straightforward, so we don't have to go too in depth on like warding.
Yeah, a lot of it's pretty situational too. Like these would just be general wards.
Yeah.
Blue smite if you're assassin, red smite if you're bruiser.
Save that. We can get to that. Next one is asked by Transcending Arc. I'll unmute him. He asks, what are good jungle pathings for KhaZix? I know you adapt to what's happening. My most preferred is raptors red, wolves blue. Yeah, we kind of touched on it before.
Touched on it. We went in depth.
Was that the second seminar?
Yep.
I think it was.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the VOD for that will come out tonight or tomorrow, depending on when One Girl 3 Balls puts it up. And yeah.
We should talk
post
about
it
making the next seminar like print because we're gonna like run out of things to talk about. You know.
Well, that was something I was going to bring up with the event people, but something that Evo suggested was doing a history of KhaZix special seminar. If there's enough like opinions for that.
Dude, that would be pretty fire. I'd be
That's
interested
what I
in
said. It's a pretty cool idea.
Yeah, like looking into the history of all the patches and how KhaZix has evolved, from the start.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I feel like we should have like its own dedicated segment or episode for that.
Dude, I'm so down.
Hell yeah. Only thing is, might be limited opinions for like when KhaZix came out, because not too many people like would say they mained him season 3.
True. Yeah, I didn't pick him up till season 4.
Same.
Yo, I actually have to leave.
Oh no.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
Still have 40 more minutes.
I mean,
What will
you
we
guys
do?
can't like close it out early or anything, because or I mean, you guys can carry on without me.
Yeah, we can. I'm just trying.
Well, sorry I had to leave. Shit
okay.
came up. It was fun.
Word.
Peace out. I don't know what else I can say.
Mm.
Be on next time for sure.
See ya.
Peace.
We can go to the next question, so we don't waste any time. This one was asked by Greg. He said, what lanes to prioritize when ganking during early levels?
Oh, I love this question.
Yeah, me too.
Bot lane.
I unmuted you, Greg.
Oh, okay, well, I usually just try to gank every lane, but like, what lane do you think has the most carry potential besides like you getting ahead? Just gank bot lane and you win. Pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
So that's
it's irrelevant to camp top lane. Like, legit, if your bot lane is losing, you just lose the game right now.
I feel like if I just ignore bot lane as a lane in general for a lot of games.
That's what I was gonna bring up because like,
there's so many more factors you have to like think about when you just prioritize bot lane. It's like the top laner has teleport, your top laner has teleport, mid laners could roam with TP, the junglers are going to be more prone to ganking bot. It's just so many more things to factor in with 4 people compared to just you.
Yeah, but still,
It just seems a lot more RNG.
AD and support are like so broken right now to not get them ahead.
Sure.
So
yeah.
I don't know. I definitely haven't fully solved this. I wouldn't say, but there's a couple things that I think are interesting. Like when it comes to bot lane, there's certainly like even if you get one side ahead, for example, there's still a lot of volatility because it's a 2-on-2 matchup. So theoretically more CC, more damage output. So I feel like it's slightly easier for a behind bot lane to come back. But, that may be a flawed opinion because it's kind of hard to get good information on this because, like, people don't play correctly. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah, there's not one
Kinda
player to
hard
look
to
at and
say
say,
for
"Oh, he
sure.
plays efficiently, perfectly."
Yeah, and it's like a lot of results like aren't consistent. Like I've had games where I get my bot ahead and they don't do shit. Like, you know what I mean? And vice versa with basically any lane. I've gotten every lane ahead and they don't do shit. Or like a lane that you've never touched somehow carries the game. Like it's all to me it's all very inconsistent. But one thing I would say, I think you should exercise caution when ganking bot lane. Like, I mean, I'm not going to make any comment priority wise, but as far as like, I think it's easier to make a mistake when you're ganking bot, you know, because supports have so much peel. Naturally, there's going to be better vision control there. It's easier, since there's two of them, it's easier for them to turn the gank back on you, in theory. So I think
You
there are more
simply
risk
can't
factors.
predict what people are going to do in general when they're getting ganked.
True.
I mean, I feel
And
like
that's
it's
multiplied by 2.
I feel like it's easier to gank like bot lane when you're evolving your ultimate at least at level 6 because the bot lane is not like expecting you to come in like invisible.
True.
Right up to them. I don't know, but it feels like it's easier in that manner. Yeah.
I've definitely experimented with those like R-Evolve lane ganks, and they definitely can be super fucking surprising. Although in theory you can do that top too. So I'm not sure. Like I said, I haven't really solved it by any means, but I definitely had those R-Evolve lane brush ganks also be unsuccessful as well. You know, like it was a versus Janna, granted, but like through heal and a Janna ult, even if you get the jump on them like that, it's still gonna be.
Yeah. And then there's people like Demir who don't even recognize bot lane as a lane because they're just going with the challenger player.
That's what I was gonna bring up too, like. Because I mean, Demir's guide that he posted a while back, he literally said like, don't fucking touch bot lane at all. And like, he didn't really provide like a thorough justification for that, but regardless, it was said. So
Yeah.
it's interesting.
Some of it does come down to your specific style as well, like how you pass with KhaZix, your personal style, what you're more comfortable ganking. But it is really dynamic and it's hard to say. So
yeah, I mean, it's probably gonna. You could even argue that it depends on your team comp as well. I don't really like to factor team comps in solo queue because like people don't play correctly anyway. But you know, in theory, your comp may be more may require more priority on the top lane, for example.
And one of the first things you should do when you get into game is look at the lane mashups. Like look at who's versus who and what lanes are going to be the most volatile instead of just standing there at your buff.
True.
That's something to think about too.
I heard a horse.
A horse.
Hello.
Tingus.
Is it Tingus?
Hello.
He's here. He replaced Nutty. You get to replace Nutty.
Hey, Tingus.
Yeah.
Tingus, we had a question for you.
We did have a question for you.
Someone asked about Triforce. It was Greg.
Eat.
Wait, we had a question about Triforce?
Especially with the on buffs.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the on buff on Triforce on Ka? Because you usually get that, don't you?
What were the buffs to Triforce with the on buff?
Let me check.
Like the item upgrade, or just buff to that?
Item buff, Triforce. Item.
If it doesn't, basically, if it doesn't increase the attack speed, it doesn't really do much for Triforce. Because if it increases the AD, it's pretty much non-existent. It's only like 30 AD. So it's not much, nothing to worry about.
I know they added Azanias, but I don't think KhaZix will build that very much.
I can barely see that. Let me see. Triforce gives 50% more attack speed, 35 more attack damage, 350 mana, 350 health, 8% movement speed. I'm sorry, those are the stats it goes up to, not 350 more. It goes from 40 attack speed to 50% attack speed.
Oh, okay.
No, that might be good.
It's not much of a change, but I mean.
Did you say extra AD too?
Yeah, it goes from 25 AD to 35 AD.
Okay. Yeah, it's really not something you should be getting if you haven't completed other items.
Autolock says Cleaver upgrade is still a better buy. So
Probably, yeah.
Are those like real items?
What?
Like those weird items that they just added? Like, are those real items you can actually buy and use?
yeah, I think so.
Holy shit, dude! I gotta catch up on that.
Here, I had to unmute someone. There you go, Krakow. Thank you. Okay, so we can pretty much just wrap that question up. Go to the next one. Unless anyone has any thoughts on lane prioritizing for ganks early game. I think we're good. Next one, I think we covered a bit, which is blue smite versus red smite. We pretty much summarized that blue smite's going to be better for assassin KhaZix in almost every situation, and red smite's going to be better for bruiser. Because with assassin KhaZix, you'll have to get like an extra auto or an extra Q to match the instant damage. Blue just synergizes so much better. Just more upfront burst damage is just going to be better. Plus your W doesn't slow anymore since the rework, so.
Yep.
Pretty much that. Not too much more to be said. It was talked about last seminar. The one that's going to be uploaded tonight or tomorrow. Next question. This one has not been asked yet. Achilles asked this one. When is it okay to tax?
Oh, okay.
So who wants to start that
So
off?
it's okay to tax when you don't get the kill. Most of the time, you don't want to take everything because obviously your laners still need gold. And if you take everything from them, sometimes you might end up making the lane worse for them. So it's kind of better to share a bit of the gold during a gank. Obviously, when you take the kill, it's better to tax less. But when you don't take the kill, you can take a bit more. And that's just how I do it.
So my opinion on that, so first you have to like specify like what you mean by taxing. Like with taxing, I'm thinking like specifically lasting the minions and getting the CS, right? So it's very situational, and you have to understand the correct situations when to push the wave and not to push the wave. But when it comes to taxing, I think in theory you should never tax except in solo queue when you're giving up on a lane and saying, okay, this lane doesn't matter to me, I'm gonna hard carry them. Because like what you, in my opinion, should be doing is you still need to help them push the wave in certain scenarios because that's like the correct call. But when you can do that without last hitting the minions, and you should in theory be giving them as much gold as possible to build their advantage, unless you're giving up on them and saying, okay, you're not gonna carry, I'm gonna carry. So that's how I would put it.
And that kind of goes with just understanding wave manipulation in general, which can be applied to all junglers. So.
Yeah, you should. You definitely, like, not to get off topic, but you should 100% understand wave manipulation if you're going to jungle. Because that's
part of the fundamentals of jungling in the game. So, yeah, if a lane's crashing, you can just sit there, free XP, gold. The person's not there.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Like if they died, like, and the wave's slow pushing into their turret, like, yeah, no doubt you can sit there and last hit and freeze the wave for them, like, no problem. So, but at the same time, I wouldn't necessarily consider that a tax, but maybe others would. So, I don't know. I'd say it's more important to understand the manipulation of the wave and when to push and when not to push. Taxing, like, worst case scenario, like, they'll get over it. You know what I mean? Like, unless you're at the highest levels of play, I don't think those 6 minions are going to make a difference either way. So, that could be thrown into the mix.
Assuming they don't AFK. That as well. Some people like to rage.
I get triggered by that.
Yeah.
Like, if it's correct to push the wave out and we're pushing the wave out, don't fucking ping me. Shut the fuck up.
All right, we can move on to the next question. This one is kind of what we talked about with runes, which is what are good runes to take? And then we can just answer that by saying check the pins, because the pins will link to guides which have runes, and generally there's not much variation really with runes. The only variation right now is just taking armor pen like lethality on reds. People are experimenting with that again a lot. But yeah, you guys want to touch on runes a bit?
Yeah, so your basic rune page can just be like AD reds, AD quints, and that's all you need really. You can choose what you want for the other page, the other rune slots.
And cooldown if you're going assassin, cause just some cooldown is
Cooldown definitely helps.
important. It's a must.
Armor seals, yeah.
Preferably flat cooldown, because some people take scaling, but for me, just
scaling is not really worth it
Yeah.
anymore. There are so
For
many items that give CDR.
for me,
you don't really-
you're at your strongest on KhaZix early game, and you want to do the most work early game, and flat cooldown is gonna help synergize with that the most. So just speeds up your clear. It's just more useful.
Mm-hmm.
So
How
we
about
need-
like?
What?
Oh, go ahead, dude. If you were gonna say something.
I was just gonna move on, so you can ask.
Oh, true. Yeah, I was thinking because I usually take a flat 10, but I think I saw someone. It may have been Demir recently who was doing 7.5, like not taking the extra quint to get the flat 10, but just doing the blues to get 7.5.
Mhm.
So I was wondering if you guys have any insight on that, because I never tried it out. Like, would you notice a significant difference either way? Like, you know what I mean? Is there something meaningful to be discussed there?
What were you talking about?
Like going 7.5 cooldown reduction with just the blues, or taking the extra quint to do a flat 10?
I think 10 sounded really good on paper, but a lot of people went back to 7.5. Like I know Rock Pocky was one of the first people to like talk about it every single day, but he even switched back. I think Nutty did as well.
True. I mean, I'll be honest. Like, I just really like to see that even 10. You know,
Yeah.
like I'm not really doing it for a strategic reason,
Yeah, like-
and I'd be curious. Like, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say like you're trading 2.5% cooldown for like 2 point something 80.
Yeah.
So on paper it sounds good, but I believe someone did the numbers and they determined it was like a little slower.
Oh, on the clear.
Yeah, your first clear is just a bit slower.
True.
With
I was also. Oh,
10%.
sorry.
No, that's all.
I was thinking like, with respect to like 7.5 versus 10, are there any like ability thresholds that are worthwhile? You know what I mean? Like practically speaking, in a skirmish or something, is that like 2.5% going to do something for you? Like, is it going to feel clunky if you're used to the 10? You know, those are kind of what I'm thinking as far as trade-offs.
I have not seen a really noticeable difference when I've run 10% compared to 7.5. It's very minor, if anything.
Like maybe you'll get an extra auto on a Wraith camp. Like maybe you can kill it with one less auto or something. Not actually sure. But yeah. We did talk about runes a lot the first two seminars. So yeah, can move on. We're pretty low on questions, so if you guys want to ask another one.
Oh, do we not have a question lined up?
No, we're kind of running low this whole last 30 minutes or so.
All right. Well, I was kind of curious about because I did definitely some experiments with lethality runes, and like I personally could not get over the early game. Like I don't know how much of it is like placebo and just like perception, but like I really just felt substantially stronger with AD, and that's like the third or fourth time over the years that I've done that experiment and came to the same conclusion. So I'm just wanting to hear some insight as far as like the early game trade-offs for those people that have been choosing to go lethality runes.
Well, of course, you have lower AD in the early game, so you're inevitably going to lose damage. That's pretty much a trade-off you need to consider when taking lethality.
For
But
sure.
if you do manage to snowball, and you have to snowball because otherwise you don't get the benefits of lethality, then it can end up being really, really strong. Like you do
definitely
much more
agree.
damage into about.
I noticed extra damage for sure.
Yeah, say you grab your warrior, you're gonna be super, super strong. You're gonna be extremely powerful.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the strongest you'll ever be as KhaZix in the early game with lethality runes.
So is that where it tips over then? Like once you get warrior, that's when
Yeah,
AD
yeah,
or
I
lethality is way better than AD.
I think so.
Yeah.
I would believe that without looking at numbers. I would believe
Yeah,
that.
I just believe that through experience. Yeah.
Hi, Fraud and
So
House.
it's basically just the trade-off you have to get through in the early game.
Yeah, I guess
The
what I was
lower
looking
damage.
for is like maybe the extent of the trade-off. Like when you're comparing your clear on AD and your clear on lethality, like how much lower are you, for example? You know what I mean? Like in your experience.
I'd say if I had to guess, it'd be about 200 health lower. Wait,
It is.
I don't
It's
know.
about 200. It's about 200.
Yeah.
It's been a very long time, but
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds right to me. So
obviously it's slower by a considerable amount.
yeah, no doubt. Anyone know the speed off the top of their head? Like speed difference?
I think Fraud and House might.
A while ago, it was fucking like at least a minute longer. It was insane. Like for a full clear, we're talking. It was like for a full clear with about like 330, and then for a full clear with lethal, and then like now people replace one AD quint, so it's probably even slower, right? I don't know if Tin just does that, but I see most of the NA KhaZix players, they replace the one AD quint with another lethality quint.
But I thought you played on EU West.
All right, that's what Diamond KhaZix, Diamond 1 KhaZix did. Yeah.
NA has better KhaZix players, so you know, I have to look at the better region, obviously.
I gotcha.
Did we get any more questions?
No, we're super low.
Well, there was a question on the sub today about top lane, R-Evolve top lane KhaZix, like, and whether or not, I'm paraphrasing, so keep that in mind, but like, the viability or the usefulness of R-Evolve for top lane KhaZix, specifically referring to the ability to trade from in and out of the side lane bushes. So, I don't know. I mean, if we're low on questions, I thought that was kind of interesting.
It's fine. It's I think it's kind of gimmicky to do it. Personally, it's kind of gimmicky.
Yeah.
To do like playing KhaZix with the bushes and top lane.
I think
I don't see how it can work. Like, I mean, I don't think it's that good because you need to farm and you're gonna get, you're not gonna be out of combat so much. So I don't see how it can work.
True. Because I was gonna say, in practice, like that's quite a bit of time to spend out of combat to get that shit to proc. You know what I mean? It's what is it, like 8-9 seconds? You have to be out of combat, and it also, like, I would add that playstyle would require a considerable amount of brush control and control of the lane. At which point, like, I don't know how you would be able to achieve that if you're in the bush for 8 seconds every time you
with
made
a lot
trade.
of bad matchups for KhaZix top lane, like horrible matchups.
Like, yeah, I feel like you just get pushed in away from the bush while you were sitting in there waiting for it to refresh. So
yeah, maybe you should
I
just
don't
play AD Shaco top. Have more success. Who knows? Any other questions, guys? I would look at the subreddit, but a lot of the subreddit questions are really repetitive.
yeah, a lot of those we've already covered. Actually, I was just looking through them. Like,
yeah,
pretty much covered most of them. So one thing I noticed too, like, I don't watch a lot of competitive but I want to say like a couple months ago, you would pretty much see Raptor start like almost 100% of the time. And now I feel like, at least in LCK, I'm talking because I don't really watch anything else, but it seems like now in LCK, it's like now you see basically 0 Raptor starts. So I was curious to see if you guys had also observed that, or if you guys had any thoughts about why that might be the case. Because I don't think any of the XP has changed specifically, so I was curious to hear some thoughts on that.
So, Tingus, or you want to start
I
that?
honestly have no idea. I don't really keep up with LCK or anything like that.
What about just Raptor start in general? How often do you start Raptors?
I start Raptors pretty often, whenever I can, really. But you also need to just what takes priority for me is just where I want to end up on the map. So I'm not going to like start Raptors if say I'm on blue side, bot side. I don't want to start Raptors if I want to end up bot side after my clear. So yeah, it's just like, oh, if you can tech Raptors and it doesn't mess up your clear, then go ahead. It'll give you more XP, and you can
It's just a really efficient path that's been around for like a couple months now. So.
Well, yeah, because that was the thing for me. Like, it straight up gives you more XP than any other camp if you start at it. So it's almost like you're giving up that, what is it, like a fifth from level 2 to level 3. Like, it's a decent amount of XP, and you're almost giving that away for free if you start somewhere else. So that was at least my assessment of why it became so strong. And then, I don't know, the only thought I had to contribute as to why we aren't seeing it as much in competitive play would be, I think, because of the tank meta. So because of how focused we are on tanks and ganking and supporting the team, that, you know, being in the right place for a gank, for example, or to pressure the map, provide vision control, something like that, has now taken priority over that, you know, that small, that extra XP. Right, and it also we're seeing slightly different champions too. Like if I'm remembering correctly, when I was seeing those pass, it was more of like an Elise Graves type of meta, whereas now it's more like a Zac Gragas kind of meta. So
Look at the chat. He says, someone says, is the mid lane assistance dependent on where you start when you start Raptors? He says he only really starts it when there's a mid like Cinder, Ori, or Cinder, Corki, or Talia that can give a decent quick leash. AoE.
The Raptor start is kind of it's only really noticeable, the experience, when you actually get level 4 in the early game. So if you're gonna like stay level 3 for a few minutes, then it's no point. Like there would have been no point in you starting Raptors.
Or that's a good point.
The Raptor start's good for a hard clear, kind of clear. So if you want to farm up a lot of gold pretty early, it's good for the lethality runes, I think, because you can't really have that much effect early going with those fucking shit runes.
Yeah,
that's true.
Makes a lot of sense.
You want to get as much gold as possible, and since Raptors have the shortest respawn time and the earliest spawn time, goes really fast, and then get over to your next camps and get that warrior as quick as possible.
Surprised Demir doesn't do Raptor start.
Yeah, so in regards to like why LCK players don't take the Raptor start, it's probably because, well, I don't know this, but it might be because they put more priority on the level 3 in the game.
That yeah. As soon as you said that, I was thinking that. I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Because I think that's a really good point about Raptors too. Because like that's what the extra XP boils down to. Is you get to level 4 camp earlier, I believe. So
that's not really the reason. The main reason is because Raptor start became too predictable in LCK. So where obviously Talia is like a pretty meta pick there. So Talia would just walk up to the camp, steal like half of the Raptors, and then you'd be fucked.
Okay.
Like
Yeah, that
minutes.
makes sense. We definitely saw a lot of those Raptor
that's very true.
invades.
Yeah, very true.
Yep.
Oh, so about the leash though, I think you can do raptors on KhaZix leashless relatively easy. So me personally, I wouldn't worry about it. It definitely helps, no doubt, but I think you just have to pull them into the bush. That's the key.
I think it's a lot more annoying if you don't get a good AoE leash.
I've consistently done it solo because I don't have laners that can actually leash properly. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. Any other thoughts on that before we move on?
Light, did you say that you need a leash for raptors?
Me?
Did you say that? I'm asking. I thought I heard you
No.
say that, but I might have missed it.
No, I just said it's like annoying if you don't get one.
True.
I think it's a little more annoying to do. It's
Do you pull it into the bush? Because I feel like that makes a huge difference.
I pull it into the bush, yeah.
Yeah, I learned that from Tingus, honestly, and I think it makes, like, to me, I couldn't do it for shit. Like, even if I got a leash, I'd get low, but once I started pulling it into the bush, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you take too much damage. If you do it solo.
Yeah, for real.
Okay, I think we can move on. Next one then.
We're out of questions, right?
Yeah, we've been pretty low on questions.
Okay, I got one for Tingus because we were talking about evolve first earlier, right? And we because we hadn't experimented with that, but we were saying, okay, maybe it's good in theory. Like I could entertain it for sure, but so Tingus, we wanted to get your thoughts on evolve first. Even though I think we touched on it in the first seminar, we wanted to hear some thoughts from the expert.
I love evolve. It's so good when you're snowballing. It's just like amazing. It feels so good. You can take a lot of risks, with the evolve early game. Well, for example, tower diving. Tower diving is probably the most
True that.
Exactly.
Yeah, you can definitely make a lot more tower dives with the evolve in the early game. Obviously, you can pick up more kills. You can skirmish a bit better. But yeah, all it comes down to is can you afford to not go Q? And if you can evolve, wow, I'm stuttering like Tyler 1. Holy shit! If you can afford to not go Q, then you can choose between E or R evolve. I mean, that's just how I take it.
So how do you make that call between E or R first?
E or R? Honestly, there has been no call. It's just been R evolve lately. I haven't been able to run E as much as I want to.
True that. I mean, I was gonna say I either go Q or R.
Yeah.
Like I never really go E, and I think we made some pretty good points to where like W first. Like I'd definitely be open to hear points, but as far as I've seen, I think there's no reason to evolve W first.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't see a reason to evolve.
I mean, I don't know, but it feels like E and R is pretty similar at level 6 because R is helping you to gank better and E as well. So, I mean, tower diving is not like good when you have evolved R, but when you have the E evolved, it's like you can just tower dive and you can just gank so much easier. But with R evolved, you can just gank pretty easy as well. You know, so it's like similar in that way, but I don't know.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think R evolve is slightly better for ganking simply because of the surprise factor it gives you.
Yes, and you can also you also save your leap, the normal leap. So yeah,
and you can abuse invisibility. With evolve, you can't really go invisible unless you burn your ultimate, so they can still see you coming. Whilst with R evolve, you can save your charges and you can come out of stealth earlier, so they have less time to react.
Exactly.
Yep. I agree.
But yeah, when it comes to E versus R evolve, I think right now R evolve is better.
True.
For the early game. Yeah.
For the record, like I would definitely agree with that, just because I feel like in a sense R has more opportunities that you can take advantage of. Whereas E, at the end game, you have to be getting that kill and to actually get the use out of E, more or less, right? Whereas with R, like, you can be chunking people, you can be doing creative things in skirmishes even without getting the kill. So I would definitely think that's a leg up for R, in addition to everything we already mentioned.
Yep.
Anyone have any closing thoughts on that? I think that should do it, I guess. One thing that we were gonna bring up towards the end of the seminar was a new channel that we're gonna be putting out in public, which is gonna be focused around higher elo KhaZixes, and just as a resource for people to look at, so a lot of in-depth topics don't get swept away by people like asking more general questions, and anyone will be able to view it. Just only KhaZix masters and gods will be able to type in it, at least initially. So might be a Q&A type format where people will ask questions and then they'll be posted in that channel, the new channel that's going to be released. And besides that, yeah, it's just something we're trying. So after the end of the seminar, it'll come out and we'll make a post as well in the announcement channel, and you guys can read up on that. So yeah,
Hell yeah.
I'm gay.
So Kha'Zix master or god is high elo.
Yeah, we were gonna incorporate tutors as well, but not quite yet. What else is there?
Did we already get this dude's question? Would you go R over Q evolve? I guess we're kind of already talking about that, right?
We kind of beat evolutions to death.
But well, that's another thing too that I think about. I don't know. This is just my opinion on the seminar. Like, I think some topics should be beat to death because, like, until they're completely solved to the point where everyone can agree, essentially, like, I think there's still more to talk about. You know, like we're here talking about R and E evolve, and in the meantime, there are people that would insist on, you know, Q, E, and W every game. And they have their reasons for that. It's not like they're just saying that, you know what I mean? So I don't know. I think there's more to discuss. I guess that's my only point. Like, even though we have beat evolutions to death, I don't think the conversation's over.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, so we can start wrapping up. If anyone has any final questions, we can answer those really quick, like a lightning round. I'll unmute everyone in the Discord. What's up, Tingus?
So someone asked, when would you go R over Q evolve? You would go R if you're ahead and want to snowball. And you don't need Q.
True.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and with R2, you want to be taking advantage of, like, the creative plays that you can make with the stealth. Like just as a very simple example, like the combat duration isn't that long, right? So you can kind of slip away from the fight into a bush and then re-engage with your stealth. So, you know, things like that, creative tricks that you can do.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
What do you guys think of Edge of Night?
Ooh, that's a good one. We talked about it really in depth the first seminar, but
true.
I like it.
Oh, go ahead.
I don't ever build it though.
To me, it looks very underrated.
Yeah,
I haven't actually tried it, but yeah, it seems like a good item.
I think underrated's the perfect word for it. Like, I mean, it's the same total damage as Ghostblade, so, you know, it's just a little bit more. So at that point, it's active preference, in which case, I think there are fair debates on how useful the active is. Like, I think that came up in the first seminar. Like, good players will just use a bullshit ability to pop it, right? Yeah. And that's in a very controlled scenario, right? So you do have to acknowledge the chaos in certain situations, especially in lower ELOs. Like, you're gonna get value out of that shield.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, I like the health that it gets, that it provides for you. It's pretty good.
I would buy it for stacking lethality just for extra damage, but at that point I would just get like Tiamat or something else.
True.
Because
Yeah,
I feel like the active is a little too situational. Like when QSS, I feel is just right there, and I feel it's so much better. I don't know.
True. QSS.
It's like it's definitely like perfect like timing because it takes a while to load on. You can't get damage during it. It can easily be cancelled, and it doesn't last that long. But it can be used
for sure. Like I think too, the health is good. I think though the health is underwhelming relative to the MR that it used to give.
Yeah.
Like I would much prefer the item with MR. But yeah, I think it's an interesting point to bring up like QSS as a comparison because Edge of Night, like if we're just talking about the spell shield, you have to use it proactively, whereas QSS you can use reactively.
Yeah.
So I would say that's certainly an advantage, but I mean, like Merc Skim's like retardedly expensive.
That's true.
I usually compare it to Maw as well, or Hex Drinker.
Yeah, Maw is definitely Maw is just like a broken item. Like that shit is
it's
so
really
good.
good.
I still think it's way better.
Maw is so good.
True that. I would say too, Hydra for damage, like no doubt.
Yeah.
Hydra does a fuck ton of damage.
Yeah.
I would value the Tiamat over stacking lethality. I mean, if I was going to do it, if I was going to go full damage, I'd get a Tiamat.
But you can do both. I go Tiamat instead of full lethality.
I would rarely go full damage, to be honest.
Yeah, that would be like full damage.
Rarely.
Yeah.
Guys, we're segueing into a fantastic conversation that I've always wanted to have. So, how much damage is enough damage, guys?
500
about
something.
that.
Not enough.
Duskblade Warrior is enough damage.
Dang. All right. Any other opinions?
Double
I feel-
Duskblade. Honestly.
Duskblade Warrior, Duskblade Yumus is usually where I stop at damage.
True
Wait,
that.
what about the LDR
Three
Destroyer?
items.
Yeah, 3 damage either.
So,
I don't
yeah,
think- I
like-
don't know. Sorry, yeah, go.
I was just gonna say I looked into because like I looked at all the items in order of gold efficiency, and that came out to like Duskblade, Tiamat, and then Serrated Dirk. But I went back and looked a little bit, and like 2 lethality items definitely does give you enough damage to kill a lot of people. With that being said, with all the shields and heals and things like that, like. Because those scenarios I looked at were obviously in controlled cases. It's very hard to factor in shields and heals. So with that being said, I think it's hard to say when enough is enough, but you can say like this amount of damage will kill your target most of the time. And 2 lethality items does seem to be a sweet spot. But if you are looking to go that extra mile damage-wise, I think Hydra and 2 lethality items is... I don't see why you would ever get more than that.
Yeah. Isn't there like some... We were gonna ask this earlier about the whole Ardent support meta and the shields, but didn't it just make more sense to focus the supports first rather than, you jump on the ADC and then they get shielded and they kill you? What if you just jumped on the support first and killed them to take out the shields?
It's
Or
just
they
entirely situational.
Oh.
You don't necessarily have to focus a certain role first. It's just like, who
that
can you
would
kill?
depend on the strength.
Yeah. Who can you kill in this situation?
Yeah.
Who's the easiest to kill? Or who's the most important to kill?
Whoa.
I think the problem with focusing the support is that if you focus the support, but they still get like their locket off or something, they still get their abilities off, their spells off, then it's not really that worth it. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It definitely depends. I've never tried it. I think it's interesting. I think it's worth entertaining for sure, but I don't know.
We do have one last question from Benson.
Wait, can you hear me?
Hi.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hi,
so
Benson.
I was wondering, let's say, well, it has a question with the words. let's say you start top side, bot side, like usual. Let's say you started red. Then you go up, or whatever, you start Raptors, you got your double buffs, and then you want to gank top, but he has the river warded. How do you get around that?
You don't.
Yeah, I think you just go gank another lane. I'm not sure about that.
I mean, if he sees you and he reacts to you, then you can't gank that lane.
It's too late. Yeah.
It's too late.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say like mid river is warded, or that river brush, the one right beside Baron.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's warded too. Like, do you not gank at that point? Do you just back and go and farm more? That's what I'm asking. Like,
I usually try to get at least one invade or gank off when I like first clear. I generally get most of my games first bloods like during my first clear because I almost always invade.
Yeah, just walk into their jungle and put a deep ward and see if you can steal camp or just kill them instead of being.
So you try anyway.
But unless there's a way to avoid the ward, if you know where the ward is and you know how to avoid it, then sure you can probably bend your way around the ward and go for a gank.
Or you can sit there for like 10 seconds and see if they're like actually committing all in. Because if they're full on 1v1 deathmatch, like one of them is gonna die, then you just run through the ward. Who cares?
Okay. Yeah, makes sense.
If it's too long and you're being really inefficient and you're there forever, then it's not worth. Just go invade instead. Or
Because I know as a KhaZix, if you like just sit around and wait for a gank, that's probably not good.
Yeah, you're being really inefficient with your time.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking. Like instead of ganking, just go farm. But sometimes when I do that, I still end up behind for some reason.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Thanks.
Okay. Good question.
Oh, also, I have one last question. Why does Daniel suck at KhaZix now?
Because I don't play KhaZix.
Okay.
Because he's washed up.
Good answer.
I don't play the
You don't play KhaZix?
He plays Tom Kench.
I'm a Tom Kench main. Hello?
He's insane on Tom.
Disgusting.
Should've known, dude.
It's my spirit animal, Tom Kench top.
Should've known, dude.
No fun.
Like real talk, that shit is so fun to play. Like
it is.
Like Tom Kench is like he's like surprisingly like powerful. Like
I solo kill them every single lane.
Yeah, it's really funny. Just do a ton of help damage.
Okay, we should probably wrap up now.
I got one question. Come on, let me do one
Hurry
more.
up. We're like 1 minute past.
What if we replaced KhaZix W with Tom Kench W?
I beat fucking rock hard.
Wait, what? Okay. Good question.
All right, and with that, we can wrap it up.
All right.
So
we're gonna be opening the channel today, guys.
Like next few minutes.
Yeah.
Wait, who's playing?
They are.
Play. I'm down to play.
Thank you everyone who showed up. Thank you for the questions, and we'll be posting
Remember
the
to like, comment, and subscribe.
Like, comment, and subscribe.
Like, comment, and subscribe.
Wait, you really didn't record?
I recorded.
He's trolling. He's trolling.
No, I will put it up.
Dude, I definitely got pranked. I was like, oh shit, he didn't record. Damn.
Yo, everyone who wants to chill in general.
Yeah, we can switch now.
Are we chilling? We chill like that?